Hi everyone, welcome to today's Industry Solutions webinar. My name is Lisa Stewart. 12D's Industry Solutions webinars are designed to provide insights into overcoming challenges in an evolving industry in more effective and efficient ways. When we run these webinars, we record them for posting on our YouTube and Vimeo channels with links through our website. Our previous webinars from this Industry Solutions series, as well as those from our training series and our 12D Tech Forum 2024 Director's Cut series, are available online if you missed those. During this presentation, you'll be able to type your questions along the way, and we'll answer as many as possible throughout the webinar. At the end, I'll read out some of your questions to the presenter if we have some left over. Today's webinar, Design Quick Start, will be presented by Revell, a Regional Sales Manager for 12D NZ with a wealth of experience in civil engineering practice, land development, drainage and construction. This webinar will cover the Design Quick Start options and Design Quick tools in 12D Model. The 12D Model Design Quick suite of options allows users to create a 3D design model with a one-button selection on a 3D string. Users can utilize the pre-installed design profiles and pavement styles, or create custom profiles to their own company or regional standards and place them on a user-defined toolbar. Quick tools can populate and dynamically measure start and end positions for designs, remove unwanted links through intersections, and turn subsurface pavements on and off. It truly means you can have your Apply Functions and MTF files created and running with a single click and ready to start editing. Over to you, Dylan.
Thanks, Lisa, and welcome everybody to the 12D Model webinar on Quick Design. So what is Quick Design? It's something that lets you create a full 3D model from some geometry in a single click. It creates the Apply function and the MTF file from inbuilt snippets. It's a quick start. So you can then modify that design with all the power of the MTF tools in 12D Model. So you can change grades, widths, shapes, pavement types, and so forth and so forth. And you can use your own company seed files with Quick Design. We have some user experience improvements. So your screen that you're looking at the moment will look different to my screen that I'm showing you with the demonstration. 12D Model 15 C1U will introduce a couple of things that you'll see. New options, a user seed and change width option. User experience improvements, so you'll see that they are repeating commands, so you don't actually have to go and reselect toolbar options or menu options over and over again. And I'll explain the old to the new improvements in the demonstration. So I'll explain to you what you can be doing before C1U and what you'll be doing after C1U. So what's in the box with the 12D Quick Design? In 12D Model 15, there are 8 provided options already there to start. We have the new user seed from C1U. We have an urban road type, a curb return, an urban curb return type, a rural road, a rural curb return, a channel type, a center island type, and a traffic island type. So those are the 8 provided options that are already there to help with your quick start. We have MTF seed files referencing snippets that are installed with 12D Model, so that's all ready to go as soon as you install 12D Model. And you'll see there we've got those inbuilt user seed files and the snippets. We have a pavement styles manager with example pavements that are referenced in our example or our default snippet files. So you see there, and I'll show you in detail later on. What's not in the box? Your own company snippet files and MTF seed files, your own company pavement manager, pavement styles and types, and your own toolbar creating your own quick design type. So they're not in the box. And here's a tip. If you're going to be using a quick design, don't use templates in your MTF designs. If you use the templates in your MTF designs, you have to import those templates into the new projects before you can use them within your seed files. So we highly encourage, don't use templates, just use snippets or MTF commands. So what you need to run a quick design, you need a 12D model license with alignments, a 3D string, doesn't even have to be a super alignment, it's literally just a string with 3D geometry, horizontal and vertical. Obviously need 12D model 15, and you need your apply MTF default set for your function and your automatic model naming. And that's basically it. If you want to use your own seed files, then there are some rules that I'll go through. So there's only 2 rules, and they're all explained in great detail in the 12D model help file. First one is change alias names. If you want to use the quick design tools and you want to use the start clean and the end clean, then you have to have an aliases called LHS extents and RHS extents. Region names, if you want to turn the pavements on and off, then the regions where all your pavement definitions are defined under is called LHS pavements and RHS pavements. A region called design surface, it's not mandatory, but it's always a good idea to have all of the commands that actually create your shape of your design in a region called design surface, following along with our pre-inbuilt seed files. And the syntax for the toolbar is also in the help file. So if you want to create your own, one button toolbar, hey, I want to do a retaining wall, I want to do a stop bank or something like that, and then you can make your own toolbars, and it's pretty easy, and that's also described in the help. Just one thing, in your names for your seed files, avoid at all costs having spaces, because then the command inside the toolbar will have to be within speech marks and have a couple of very prescriptive backslashes put within the name. So if you can avoid spaces in both your path name and your seed file name, then it's going to help out a lot. So the quick tools. In your MTF seed file, if it follows the rules, then you can use the quick design tools with those 2 rules that I pointed out. So when it's selecting the initial geometry, it's going to apply that design all the way from the start to the end of the string. And by selecting other objects for your start clean and your end clean, that's going to update the chainage alias with dynamic measure modes depending on what you've selected on the screen. And simply put, these tools update the MTF file without even having to open the MTF file and put those start, end modes and modifications in yourself. So there are currently 7 provided quick tools from C1U onwards. We have start clean, which will change or dynamically measure the start modes on the left hand and the right hand side for your design. There's an end clean, which will update and modify the end modes of your chainage alias. There's 2 intersection cleans. The first intersection clean will clean off from a nominated amount or a nominated number of links to be left. And there's intersection clean all, which you'll typically use within your roundabouts, which will clean off all of the links on the side of the design with within a prescribed area or zone. Change width is a new one, and we have pavements on and pavements off. So using MTF seed files, which is what the quick design does, okay, a seed file is just an MTF file that's got a different file extension. So every command that you have within the MTF file is available to you to save away as a seed file. Just make sure that your seed file start and end modes are generic. Don't set up your seed file that it goes from the end of curve return 1, because in the other project that you're going to be running it on, you may not have a string with that name. So have a very generic start and end modes, and use aliases as much as you can. So you can have inactive commands. So you could potentially have a seed file that does everything that you might possibly want it to do in a road situation. It could be inserting your car parks, it can be inserting your driveway cut downs, your driveway entrances, and they can just be disabled within the seed file, so you only need to turn them on when you want to apply that car park or that curb return or that pavement driveway intersection. So yes, seed files, you'll use them everywhere you can, even outside the quick start functionality. So let's go and see it in action. Okay, I'm just going to switch over to a 12D model project that I have here that's got my geometry strings. And these geometry strings in this case are super alignments, but of course they don't have to be super alignments. This can run on any 3D superstring with a particular name. So looking first at the design quick start options. So I can get them from the menu up there on design quick start, or you see we've got the matching options on the design quick start toolbar that's installed with 12D. So I'll use both. If I tear off that menu and then pull down this design quick start toolbar and plop that underneath, and we'll start to take you through the different inbuilt options that you can have for a 3D design quick start. If I zoom into this area here, the first time you run a design quick start option, if you don't have any current pavement styles in your 12D project or imported into your project, it will do that for you in the background. So if I go up to the pavement styles import, it will be reading from the installed example pavement styles in 12D. In the lid, it will read these files in, so you'll potentially see your data import window sort of pop up and then disappear the first time that you select a design quick start option, because it will read in pavements if you don't have any there already installed. So we have these different options. We have two types of islands. We have a traffic island and a center island. The difference between these two is they just have different curve profile types. The traffic island will have a more upstand curve profile with some set dimensions, and the center island will have a more mountable curve profile. So I'm going to start with the traffic island and choose the geometry string that I'd like to do that design quick start on. So that's done all the hard work for me. It's created the MTF file and created the Apply MTF function, and it's also turned on some of those models on the screen. You want to keep an eye on your bottom left-hand side in your screen message area of your view, down just below here, because with the new repeatable options, because they can stack and they can also repeat, it will give you a really good idea on which command that you currently have active, and you can be going and selecting other options. Prior to the repeatable commands, that command will have finished and you'll have to go back up to the toolbar or the menu option to choose, even if it's the same design profile again. But in this case, I'm going to do a center island on here. And I'm going to go and put a rural curve return on this design geometry string. So again, without the new repeatable commands that are coming up in C1U, you'll need to keep on coming back to those options before choosing a different geometry string. But with the new repeatable commands, if I activate an urban curve return and place that on that geometry string there, because that command is stacked and repeating, I can simply go and select the whole rest of all of my geometry strings that I would like that particular curve return type design profile to be applied on. And then I want to make sure I escape out of that, otherwise that will be stacked. And then I'll go and put some urban road profiles on my subdivision roads, because they're going to start with an urban type profile and curve and channel. I'm going to do a rural road type profile on my subdivision entrance road. And finally, I'm going to put a trapezoidal channel type design profile on my overlay and flow path channel that runs through the site. So those are your design inbuilt quick start types or profiles. Now you'll see that it's made a number of models that it's automatically turned on in this view. These models, if I go to my 3D view here and go to the plus button, I have a number of models under a prefix or a model object tree called apply. Where do these come from? They come from your MTF defaults. So if you've got different apply MTF defaults set for your company, you will have different model names and prefixes, but the design quick start just uses what the current defaults are set. So you see here in my apply MTF defaults, I've got the model names and the model prefixes for my strings and my sections and my polygons and my road boundaries, and they match what have been produced from the design quick start. So I've added the sections and strings into my 3D view, and it has also created the MTFs and the apply MTF functions based on the reference string or the geometry string name. So if I have a look at the MTFs themselves, it's created a whole stack of MTF files with the name of the reference string, and under the Apply MTF Functions it's created, you'll see it's also created the function names based on the prefix and the reference string name. So that's a really easy way of getting a model versus function versus file naming convention using the Design Quick Start tools. So that's pretty much all of the inbuilt options. We'll come back to the user seed right at the end, which is new for C1U. But right now what we're going to do is we're going to go and take you through the Design Quick Start tools. Okay, the Design Quick tools. I'm just going to move the Design Quick Start toolbar back up to its rightful place. And I'll close that menu. You can access these under the Design Quick Tools menu, and you'll see there's a corresponding Design Quick Tools toolbar as well. So again, I'm going to do both. I'll use the menu, and I'll also move out that Design Quick Tools toolbar, and we'll take you through how these work. Now you notice when I did the very first Design Quick Start from the seed file, it's applied the design profile from the start of the reference string all the way to the end of the reference string. What these tools allow you to do, in this case for the Start Clean tool, is to go and remeasure and update that alias, which was one of the rules I explained earlier, and put dynamic measure modes from where we select on the screen and change the start chainage and the end chainage. If you're using an earlier version of 12D, you'd have to do this one by one. So this would be the process that you'd go through. You'd select the Start Clean tool. You would select a design link, not a section, but a link on the side that you wanted to remeasure. And then you would select a corresponding point. In this case, I'm going to select to one of my curve returns, and 12D will dynamically measure that chainage or link it to that other thing that I've selected. For the new highlights, the first time I select it, it's going to ask me if I would like to confirm that point. I can continue confirming every single point that I select, or I can select Don't Ask Again, in which case it's basically going to not ask again for that session. So the earlier versions, I need to go and reselect that tool, pick on the link on the side that I want to remeasure, in this case the right-hand side, and select the corresponding point. And that will go and change that start mode. With the new repeating commands, it just makes life a lot easier. I don't have to keep on coming back up to this toolbar. So in this case, if I go and select the End Clean tool, which will go and dynamically measure the end modes for my design, I don't even have to worry about which side I select as long as I select the design link. And we've got some smart intelligence tools there in the background. It knows that if I pick on the left-hand side, it'll just clean off the left-hand side, and then I can go and select the right-hand side, and it knows I'm closer to the right-hand side, so it's going to go and change that particular chainage alias. And as I mentioned, you want to keep an eye on the screen message area down the bottom left-hand side of your screen, because these tools can be stacked and repeated. If I just hit escape once, it's going to go back to the start of the End Clean tool, and I can go and select a different design element, choose the corresponding points, and it will go and update the end modes for that chainage alias. And I have seen people, they get a little bit stuck, they pick the wrong tool or pick the wrong point, and they might end up with something like this. So if I've got the End Clean, I pick on what should be the start point, and most of the strings disappear. You don't have to worry or panic about that. The good news is you can just reactivate that tool, or in this case the tool is still going, and I need to go, well, I'm on the end point, End Clean tool, so I need to pick closer to the end, and that will just go and update and reinstate those chainages as they go. Okay. So the End Clean tool and the Start Clean tool, I can go and actually change those start modes. So I'll actually do the start point, clean up these intersections, so when we do the intersection clean tool, it looks a little bit better. Actually, that's the wrong point, and that's the right point. And that will do enough for showing you the tools for the intersection clean and how they go through. So we have the Start Clean tool, the End Clean tool, and we have two intersection clean tools. The first intersection clean tool will clean from a nominated link all of the outside or the subsequent links in that design profile. The older versions, it will clean a nominated number of links. So if I go to the first intersection clean tool, it's going to ask me to pick the link that I want to basically get rid of all the links outside. So I'm going to keep the edge of my road. It'll highlight that point, and then I can choose the dynamic measure modes for the start and the end, or lowest chainage and high chainage that correspond to that intersection zone. You'll see that's cleaned those out. And I'll go ahead, because the command is repeated, and do the other intersection. And if I zoom in here, you'll see that that has cleaned out both of those intersections, leaving that link in any earlier links from the one that I nominated. The intersection clean all tool, what that does is it cleans out all of the links on a particular side that you select. So if you're doing a roundabout, or in our case where we've got traffic islands and whatnot going through, and I don't want any of those edge of carriageways or edge of bitumen or seal through there, so I'm going to choose the intersection clean all tool, choose that link on that side that I would like to clean it out. You'll see it highlights all of the links that I'm about to basically blow away, and I'll choose some dynamic measure points to clean up that intersection through that zone. And I can do the same intersection clean all tool on my channel or my overland flow path where it runs underneath the road. So if I choose the intersection clean all, the side that I would like to clean, and then the corresponding points that I'd like to measure from low chainage to high chainage. Hit escape once and do the other side. And that's use that same intersection clean tool for something that's really not an intersection. So we have the end clean, intersection clean tools, and we have this new one in the latest versions of 12D, C1U and above, which is a change width option. If you didn't have the change width option, this is the process that you'd have to go through to override the default width that has been specified in the snippet or your MTF seed file. So in this case, you'll see the width of my road doesn't match where my curb return is. It's 3.5 meters, but it needs to be 4.2. So the old process would be I'd need to edit that MTF file itself. I'd need to go into the modifiers on that side and find the command that specified that width, right? So it'd be 4.2 meters. And if I apply that, that's going to update that design, and I can save and finish that. But with this new change width option, you don't have to go through all this rigmarole. I can select from the quick tools the change width. I can just select the nominated width of a particular link and then pick on the link that I would like to modify the width of. So it's much, much easier and much cleaner. And it also recycles, and I can go for my side road and say that's 2.7 width on that one to the edge of the lip of curb, and it repeats. I can pick the other side. And the nice thing about this option is it's not just for a road width. You can use it on any link in your profile. So if you're doing a retaining wall, or you're doing a stop bank, or you're doing something that's not a road, in this case, I can just say, well, I'd like the footpath to be 2.5 meters wide, and it will go and modify the appropriate link for that width that I've put in. And you'll see that there's the two most common options: modifying the width, holding the crossfall, and modifying the width and holding the height. So that's the new change width option. And the last two tools are pavements on and pavements off. And if you have those region names and all of your pavement commands underneath those specified region names that I described in the rules, this is where you can use the pavements on and pavements off option. And it will just turn on or activate all of the commands within that region, or turn off or deactivate all the commands within that region. So I'm going to turn the pavements on for this fun road design, and then we'll have a look at the models that it creates. Okay, so if I go to the plus button, I now have an extra number of models. Where do those models come from? They come from your pavement styles definition. So if I fire up our pavement styles manager, and in the default tab, okay, these are all the nominated model names for my tri-meshes and my tri-mesh strings from my using the Pavement Manager snippets. So I can just add all of the Apply Tri-Mesh models. I can zoom on in, and you can see that that's turned on all of the snippets that have been using the Pavement Styles Manager or the Pavement Manager New. And then we'll have a look at the Pavement Manager in a little bit more detail in a minute. But subsequently, I'm going to add the tri-mesh pavements on for all of my rest of my intersections, so these curve returns. And you do have to repeat this command at the moment because you typically wouldn't be going and doing this over and over and over again. Sorry, just add a little bit of a blink on my screen there. And I'll do the pavements on for this final road here. And I'll go and add those new models that have been produced from those snippet files. Okay, so now we've got our pavements turned on for the majority of the roads that we want to have a look at, and we'll get into the looking at the Pavement Styles Manager. To explain a little bit more about the pavements and the MTF files and really see how this designed quick start seed file has been built, what we're going to do is I'll just move that up there, and we're going to go and actually have a look at the MTF file that has been created from the seed file for this particular design. If I go to the left side modifiers, you'll see, as I mentioned earlier, that our example design options are all built using the inbuilt snippet files that are installed with 12D. So the design surface uses snippets and the pavements themselves use snippets. And where do these snippets come from? I go and have a look at the snippet manager inside 12D. You'll see under the library folder, we're just using the snippets that have been installed with 12D Model 15. So in this case, the pavement curve from attributes SG. So these particular snippets that do our Pavement Manager, it's got a default pavement type that's been applied. In this case, it's a PTO1 pavement type, and that will have a number of layers and definitions and properties for that. So if we go and have a look at the Pavement Styles Manager, just make this box a little bit bigger. Not grabbing it, sorry. There we go. The pavement type PT01, it has 3 layers. And if I go and actually have a look at the details or the definitions of those pavement layers, I've got different depths here. And just to show you how they change, if I change that bottom layer depth 2.5, and if I go set and apply that new change, I'll finish that panel, come back to here. And because that snippet directly responds to the pavement types, if I recalc that design, you'll see that that bottom pavement is going to get actually thicker than what it was. And this will also be easier to explain it if I pull up a cross-section view, and we'll profile one of those design sections, and we'll add the tri-mesh pavement models. Okay, so those are those tri-meshes that have been applied within the MTF file itself. So that's coming directly from the seed file, and inside the seed file it has our inbuilt snippets, but they can have your own snippets in there. So what I'll do is I will add the pavements, or turn on the pavements for our rural type profile that we used during the design quick start, and I will also add the pavements for the trapezoidal channel. So you see those are all used the Pavement Manager as well. And if we go and profile one of our rural road cross sections, you'll see that that pavement, when I turn on the tri-meshes, has a rural type pavement already applied in the design quick start. And our trapezoidal channel, if I profile one of those cross sections, you'll see that that's a trapezoidal shape with some default dimensions, and it's got pavements assigned to those as well. Okay, so the design quick start in that pavement region has some pavements already created for us. If I save and finish that MTF, and I'll go and reprofile one of our cross sections, because I'm going to explain some of the newer features inside some of our pavement snippets in a minute. And one of the questions I get asked once we put down our urban curb returns or our rural curb returns, they go, well, what about the bit in the middle? We can use our curb return snippets, but because you're going to have different named strings or links that define these internal intersection areas, the first time you use a quick start curb, okay, it will not do an intersection type, it will just apply it around the curb. So you can use, if I edit that MTF that's created that, it's very quick to update that specific to your job. So if I go into the modify left, for that initial pavement, it was using a curb, not a curb return. I can just go into that snippet and change that snippet to one of the curb return snippets. And this curb return snippets has basically everything exactly the same, apart from you need to select two links or two strings that define the internal region of the intersection. So in this case, left-hand rule, this is my first border link, essentially. The link that borders the internal intersection area. This is the other string or the link that borders that internal area. And I've just switched over the snippet type. I want to go apply on that one. Okay. Seem to be having a little bit of a refresh thing with my screen. You'll see that that has now very quickly, starting with the MTF seed file, but just changing the snippet, has filled in that intersection area. So yes, we definitely have snippets that do those intersections, but for our generic design, we will start with the original pavements. Okay, I'll just go and save and finish that file. Because we have used the quick start, it has applied some attributes to the reference string so it knows that these were created by quick start. So we've done a whole lot of roads, and if I wanted to create a chain that went and recalculated all the roads, we can use the Apply MTF Manager inside 12D to do that. So if I go into Design, Apply MTF Manager, because these reference strings have been used doing the quick start, when I go and select that as a model source, so if I go to the alignment to roads and populate the grid, you'll notice that it's automatically ticked on in the Apply MTF Manager, recalc using existing MTF file because those have been created using the Design Quick Start. So what I can do is, if I wanted to create a chain that just recalculated all the roads, I can just type in a new chain name here, recalc roads, and if I go create update, that's going to go and rerun those functions, so it'll take a few seconds. But the most important thing is it's going to have written a custom chain for me straight away that will recalculate those functions one by one by one. So I could have done all the roads and all the curbs in the function, but I've just saved time there. So now if I change anything in my pavement manager and I want to run all of my roads, I now have a chain that's automatically created for me using the Apply MTF Manager. And that was possible because these designs have been initiated or started using the Design Quick Start. Now, a couple more points that are part of the Design Quick process, but can be used elsewhere. In the snippets that we created in the MTF, it was using new snippets that have popped in the last couple of subversions. And these pavement manager snippets, have the word SG at the end of them. And the SG snippets does some very clever stuff. So SG stands for subgrade. And if you have something set in your pavement styles manager, 12D can now create models of sections and strings for your subgrade levels. So if I look at the pavement manager itself and go into the PTO1 again, under the tin option, you now have the option to create a tin, yes or no, but you also have the option to create strings and sections for the subgrade or the bottom level of those particular layers. So this is applicable for any of the snippets that we have installed with 12D that end with SG. So I'll do that to the footpath and the pavement snippet. And if I just reapply that design, that's going to have created some models for me that turning those on in a section view will make explaining this a lot easier. Okay, I've got some apply tri-mesh subsurface. Where does that model name come from? Again, it comes from the Pavement Styles Manager. And if I turn off the tri-meshes themselves, you see it's created models of strings and sections at the subgrade or the bottom level of that nominated layer. But these subgrade snippets have some very clever stuff in them. So if I go and edit that tri-mesh pavement subgrade snippet, we have a group or a region in the snippet here called subgrade tin options. At the moment, there's no edge mode. It just goes to the edge of the subgrade and stops. But I can actually change that over to a wall type edge mode, reapply that design, and that will put a non-vertical or a very, very near vertical wall up to the calculated design surface level. So you see it's got a wall that's put it up through there. But if I'm not going to my design level, I might have to allow for a little bit of topsoil stripping in there. I can put a strip distance, put minus 200 mils, reapply that design, so that will do a near vertical wall, but it'll come down 200 millimeters from that top design surface level. Okay, so there's lots of different options. I could have the subgrade strings from a grass tri-mesh layer, or if I just want to go from the wall out to a prescribed link, I can choose the wall to link option and say, carry that 200 millimeter strip out to my front of my footpath. Wait for that to recalculate. Okay, so that's taken that out to that link, or if I'm just allowing a topsoil strip, ignoring everything in between, I could just choose the mode wall to end, and that will carry on from the bottom of the subgrade up and then all the way to the end of the fixed links on the design cross section. So these are relatively new, these subgrade type tri-meshes, but if you're using the design quick start, it will install these subgrade tri-meshes snippets as a default. So we're almost done. One last thing is we've been concentrating on the inbuilt options in 12D that do roads. I did say earlier, you can have a seed file that does anything that you like, and you can use the design quick start either from a toolbar or from this next option. But I do have a reference ring here, which is the bottom of a retaining wall. We have this new option of running a user seed file, so you don't even need a toolbar option. What I can do is choose the user seed from up here. It will do a scan of all the seed files within my standard search paths. So if I had seed files in my user library or not, I've got one directly in the job here called retaining wall. Now this seed file does have those rules complied with it. So I can just choose this custom or user seed file, pick on the reference 3D geometry I want that applied in, and that's gone and done a quick start option, done all the hard work for me, created my MTF file, created my apply MTF file. If I zoom out on this one and add those new models that it's created, so I've got some sections for a retaining wall, and I've got some strings, and zoom into that retaining wall area. So I've just run a custom seed file, which has a definition essentially of a retaining wall on that geometry with one click. And I also do have some pavements underneath there. So if I turn on those pavements for the retaining wall, okay, they are defined in my seed file as well. And if I move that over to here and just profile one of those retaining wall cross sections that have been created and add the tri-mesh models. This is really just to sort of reinforce that the design quick start can be done for any type of design profile that you'll be running inside your projects, and it's not just for roads. Right, I'll just go into a little bit of a summary. I'll flick back to my PowerPoint. Okay, so in summary for the design quick options in 12D, it creates a full 3D design model from geometry string in one click. It creates the apply function and MTF file from seed files. We have out-of-the-box example provided and installed with 12D Model 15. And the rules for alias and region names to use the quick tools are very important. You can use your own seed files and snippets. And the most important thing, hopefully you've taken out of today, is you can stop using templates. So thank you for your attendance. I'm more than happy to take questions. So I'll pass back to Lisa and look forward to your questions.
Thanks, Dylan. I've got a couple here I'd like to read out live.
Sure.
So we've got one from Daniel saying, is it possible to set up the Apply MTF defaults so all strings created are on the same model?
Absolutely, they can be. You can just take out the wildcard so it doesn't take the reference string names, and they can definitely be in one nominated model if that's the way that you want to use it. I do find that having the model names with the reference string makes it a little bit easier for me to find, but yep, you don't need to have the wildcard within the Apply MTF defaults, and you can just put those into strict nominated models.
Great. There's one from Harold saying, is the quick start function reliable enough to replace the Apply MTF manager?
Yes, it certainly is. And the Apply MTF manager, it runs exactly the same options, but without a panel. So if you don't want to go to the effort of using the user seeds or creating your own toolbars, you can still use the Apply MTF manager. And you'll notice that in version 15, the Apply MTF manager, you can assign seed files. So you can use one or the other, but the design quick start is just, you can do it via a one button click as opposed to having to fill in the panel.
Thank you. Yeah, and we'll just do one more live. So Aaron has said we were told on earlier 12D courses to always copy snippets to the working folder rather than using them from the library. Is this still advised? And if so, is there an automated way to do this?
Yes, it is still advised because we will continue to improve those snippets. And so if you're using a snippet that was created a year ago, it may have, like, for example, the subgrade functions, it may have new things that might not work exactly the same. So yes, definitely you can use the MTF manager to copy those to a working folder. And the easiest way to customize that is you can run a chain. You can have a chain that copies all the ones that you typically use, because there is a copy file command inside a chain that you can copy them from the library into your working folder, basically in one click by running a chain.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for answering those, Dylan, and for your presentation today. I think we all got a lot out of that. I'm going to pop the recording of the webinar from today up on the webinars page on our website with a Vimeo link there, and it'll end up on YouTube as well. And yeah, everyone keep an eye on our emails and social media for details of future webinars. We've got a few more topics in the pipeline. A couple more will happen this year. And don't forget, our 12D Tech Forum 2026 is already available for booking through 12dtechforum.com. You'll probably be getting some emails about that one as well. If you need to contact us in the meantime, just pop on the website. We've always got people available. That concludes our presentation for today. Thank you all for attending, and we hope to see you at future webinars.